but today we're covering wonderful things you can do in Windows 10. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start with different ways of getting images into applications. And by images, I mean things like screenshots or partial screenshots, or even getting an error message into an email, which can sometimes make a life a lot easier if you just want to tell people what's going on, or if you're emailing support or whatever. Okay, so first of all, there's a good 4 ways of doing this, but I'm starting with Word on the screen there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tool that's built into Word. The same tool's available in other Office products, including things like Outlook. So if you're doing something on the network and you get a bizarre error message comes up and you don't really want to have to write it all down or try to convey it to somebody else, you could just go straight into Outlook and take a screenshot of that message. And so a really easy way of doing that is to go to Insert and then go to Screenshots, click on the drop down, and then here it gives you a list of all the actual full screens, and that way I could just take a screenshot. Or I can go to Screen Clipping, and if I click on that, it'll get rid of Word and reveal whatever's going on behind it, like so. The screen will go like this, which kind of grays out, and then I can choose any bit of that screen that I want by clicking and dragging. And when I let go, it'll dump that into Word as the screen clipping. So that's one way of doing it. And like I say, it's a great way of doing it if you're in Outlook and you just want to get an error message or you want to get a screenshot of what's going on to somebody via email. But there's lots of other ways you'd be really pleased to hear. Let's delete that because that's not very interesting. Another way is to use the screen clipping snipping tool, which is this thing down here. Snipping Tool, that's what it's called. I can get to that by finding it on the menu somewhere, but like so many Windows 10 things, it's hidden there so deep it's easier just to type in snip. But if I just click on it, it'll come up on the screen, ta-da, somewhere, and it's ready for use. What it will do is it will draw your attention to the fact that it is moving, even though it looks like it's just sitting there. It is actually going to be getting rid of or disappearing at some point in Windows update, which is fine because I'm about to show you another way which is better than this. However, this is a good tool because it works just like the thing that I just did inside Word, in that you can say, right, I want a new screen clipping. The screen kind of goes white, and then you can click and drag, and when you let go, it dumps that picture into the snipping tool, but basically it's put it into the clipboard. I could save it now and I can keep a copy of that picture if I so wanted, or I can just go into whatever application I want it in and I can just paste. So if I do Control V, it pastes it in the usual manner. So that's the snipping tool. Really handy little tool for just getting screenshots into any application. It doesn't have to be Word, it could be anything, or to be able to save them. And if I click on the little disk there, I can save it as a PNG, which can be accessed by most things that understand graphical stuff. Now, there are better ways though. One is to use the new improved version of the snipping tool, which is built into the operating system, provided you've got all your Windows 10 updates in place. And that can be accessed by doing, and this is really easy to remember, Windows, Shift and S. And then you get this thing turn up. I don't know whether it's showing this on the screen share, but there's a little blob at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
This allows me to choose what kind of drawing I want to make. And again, I'm just going to draw a picture around a bit of Word. And then if I let go, that's now sitting in the clipboard. I've got a little notification down here telling me that. Is all this coming across okay on the recording? Because I don't know. Yeah, good. I don't know whether it's working or not. It's working fine for me, but that's sitting in the clipboard now, and I could go off and find it in the system and save it and stuff. But really, I just want to use that in my Word document or whatever I'm working in. So again, I can just paste it. So that pastes that screen snipping. So that is done by holding down a Windows button, Shift and S, which really rolls off the tongue. Now, the final thing, which is in 2 parts, is print screen. Now, traditionally, and by traditionally, I mean at some point they finally got around to changing it in Words in Windows, so that when you press print screen, it actually prints the screen almost, but it prints it into the clipboard. So if I press print screen now, that's taken the screen, and by the screen I mean both of my monitors, put it into the clipboard, and then I can go into something like Word, for example, and I can do Control V again, and it will paste that screen thing. That's what's going on the top of my screen. We don't want to see that, so I should delete all that. So that's quite cute, but that's history. That's the old way of doing things. The way we're supposed to do it now is, and it'll probably be permanent, I expect, at some point. Microsoft will put it in an update and change it. We're supposed to be using the enhanced snipping tool that we've just seen rather than print screen. And the way to turn that on is, so I'm not making a joke about that, is to go into settings. So never find anything on this menu, so I'm just going to type settings. And then within settings, again, I can never find anything in here either, so I'm just going to type in print screen. Print screen. And we can see there's an option buried deep somewhere in the settings. Use the print screen key to launch snipping. And if I press that, and down here, so this is in the keyboard settings of ease of access, which ironically, it really takes a lot of effort to find. However, in the ease of access section, there's a button here which is set to off, and I think one day that's just going to be on by default rather than off, and it may not even be an option. But if I switch it on, what it means now is my print screen button will launch the enhanced snipping tool. So if I close this, once again, back in Word, if I really, really want a picture of Word to go into Word, excuse me, and all I want is the that little styles bit of the ribbon, I can press the print screen button, and then I get the snipping tool turn up, and so now I can click and drag the selection that I want. That bit there will do. And when I let go, that's sitting in the buffer, and down here it says, oh, it's saved to the clipboard, but not the buffer, the clipboard. And now I can go into my document and paste it in. Ta-da! So that is all you could ever want to know about snipping stuff and more. Morning. You right there, Adam? Have you had a haircut?
Yes, I have, Glyn.
Welcome, Adam.
Hello.
Is that
Emily just audibly gasped at that little tip.
Who gasped? You gasped.
Emily.
Really? Oh wow! You sure she didn't drop her tea on her lap or something? Good. Well, I did say there'd be stuff in there that people don't know, and that's one thing then. Good. Okay, right. Everyone happy with that? Any questions?
No.
No? Any questions from anyone who's saying, what did you just do? Oh, I've got a chat with you. Yeah, good. Right, okay, yeah. So I shall move. It's all downhill from there, I'm afraid. But I'm going to carry on anyway. Yeah, so that's doing screen clipping. And like I said, the best way to do it, the way that they want you to do it, is to go into the settings. So Windows key, settings, and then when you're in there, rather than trying to find it because it's a nightmare trying to find stuff, type in print screen with just the one R, and then switch it on. And then in future, all you have to do is press the print screen button, and you've got the screen snipping tool. So yeah, that's quite a cute feature. I'm going to do a few other bits, and then yeah, some of these are good. This is going to be a bit of a roller coaster, so don't expect too much. The next thing I'm going to show you is quite a new feature. It was introduced into Windows, I can't remember if it was 3 or 3.1. I think it was Windows 3, so it's about 30 years old. But it amazes me how many people don't realise it's there. And it's Alt-Tab. And just in case anyone doesn't know about Alt-Tab, down here we've got all the applications that are open. I can see that there's a little line underneath them on the taskbar. And of course, if I wanted to go to Excel, I could click on Excel, and I'm in Excel. Yay! And if I want to go back to Word, I go back to Word, and we all know that because that's what you're supposed to realise when you look at the Windows screen. It's intuitive stuff for you. Excuse me. But if I hold down the Alt key and press Tab, I can just jump between these things because that's the way that it's always been done in Windows. And a lot of people just don't realise that because they've not been using Windows since it was a new feature. But Alt Tab, so sometimes that can save you a lot of time. Now, it gets better than that. There's another feature which allows you to jump between just the current application. So let me give you an example. If I open another document in Word, so let's look for another document. Find something here, dear old Git, that's a nice document. So I've got two documents open in Word, and I could go down to the taskbar, and it gives me a little preview, and I can jump between them and do all that stuff. I could do, yeah, if I wanted to spend all day looking for a document. Or I can press the quite obvious, really, Control F6, and that jumps between the two screens. So if you've got 10 documents open, you could do Alt Tab, and you could see all your documents and all the other applications, but that's a bit dull. But if you do Control F6, that will just jump between all of your windows, all of your Word documents. So could save you seconds eventually, over a year or two. And the same thing in Excel. If I have this one open, and also have something else open in Excel, there's the sum function we did just the other day. I can use Control F6 to jump between the two windows, which, you know, nice little touch. To be fair, in Excel you can just do Control Tab, which you used to be able to do in Word, but then they used F6 for something, or they used that for something else, and then F6 took over. However, moving swiftly on, let's jump between applications.
Lou?
Yes.
Mine's not working, so let's try that. Is there like a setting that you have to change?
Oh, no, it should work. What are you in at the moment? Which one are you trying to do?
Control F6.
Have you got Word open? Have you got Word on the actual screen?
No, I haven't got Word open.
Yeah, Control F6 is only when you're in Word.
Right.
You've got a great setup with the microphone. We'll try it later, Emily. Okay, we'll go through it and make sure it's doing what you want it to do. Okay, so let's jump in between applications and jump in between documents in applications. The next couple of things are great for people that are either used to using multiple screens and are suddenly forced to work on one screen, or just want to have multiple screens, or want to have even more screens than they've already got. So here's some useful features. One is side by side, and again, this is a thing that a lot of people know anyway. So if I was working in this Excel document, and if I go to my Word document for important information in my dear old Git Word document, rather than doing Alt Tab and jumping between the two, and the other nice thing about Alt Tab, of course, is it remembers the last one you went to, so you can just keep jumping between the two windows. But rather than doing that, what I could do is I can go up to the Restore Down button, so it's restorable and resizable and stuff. I can click on the title bar, and if I drag that over to the right, when it bumps the side, I don't know how this will come across in the presentation, but just as it bumps the side, it shows me that it's going to take up half the screen. Then when I let go of it, it shows me all my other open windows, and I can select the one that I want. I think I was looking at a DSUM one, and if I click on that, I've now got side-by-side windows, which of course isn't difficult to do. You could do it manually, but it saves you a bit of time and it resizes them nicely. And then if I was sort of retyping this into here, I could easily drag it across. Or I can click on that dividing line and give one more space than the other, and vice versa. So if I wanted to take that there, I could just grab that and then drag it over, dump it there to put it into my Word document, which takes seconds. Bing. Anyway, so that's side-by-side stuff. However, if you're wanting just one thing on a screen, I can close, well, let's minimize that and maximize this again. Excuse me. What I can do, and this is exciting, is I can have a whole new desktop. Now, it's all well and good saying you can do side by side if you like to pretend you've got two screens, but you don't get a lot of space. But if you want a lot of space, you can have a whole new desktop. And if you've got loads of screens, you can have even more screens. And the way to do this is you go down to this little feature here. And if you click on Task View, what it does, it brings this up. I don't know whether this is being recorded or transmitted. Is this coming up on the screen okay?
Yeah.
Well, it's brought up a thing that says New Desktop. And if I click on New Desktop, and then click on Desktop 2. What have you got on the screen now? Have you got a blank screen with my desktop?
You're just a few icons on the left.
Right, that's it. Yeah, good. And so, did it show you the bits in between where I had a load of stuff on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. So basically, if you click on this thing down here, this Task View button, you can either look at things that you previously had open, which is sort of useful, I suppose. But what I like to use it for is New Desktop. So now I've got this blank desktop, which is Desktop 2. But I've also got Desktop 1 open, which I can't see, and you can't see at the moment. But if I press that task button there, I can go back to Desktop 1. And it takes me back there, and that's got all the screens open that I had open before. Which is sort of okay, but it's not very slick. But what I've done, I've told the system I've got two desktops. So now, rather than going through that lengthy procedure, I can just use Control, Windows, and Arrow. So if I do Control, Window, Right, boom, I'm on Desktop 2. Control, Window, Left, I'm back on Desktop 1. And so I can have Word in one document, one desktop, Excel in another desktop. I can have an accounts package in Desktop 3. I can have a database in 4. I can have 10 desktops open. And then rather than shuffling between things on one screen, or in my case, I've got two screens, I can have all sorts of things going on all sorts of screens and just do Control Windows, left and right, and it'll jump between all the different desktops that I got. And that's really cool, I think. Anyway, so seconds of fun with that one. So all you do is you click on the little thing here, Task View. It brings up this area here of all your potential desktops. And you can just keep saying new desktop, new desktop, new desktop. There's a bit below it, which is kind of an audit trail of the things that you've done on the machine. And here's a lot of PDF files and stuff that I've had open. And I can choose any one of those desktops. Let's choose desktop 5. Or a quicker way of choosing them is to do Control, Windows, and left and right. So I have all my empty desktops now until finally I get back to the first one. How many did I open? Trying out loud. Anyway, you get the general idea. And then when I've had enough of it, I can click on the task view and I can get rid of desktops that I don't want because they've got a little close thing in the right-hand corner above them. So I just close them all. And now I'm just back to my original desktop. Ta-da! So, like I said, I don't know how well that comes across in the presentation, but it's a useful little tool. Even if you've got two screens, it just means you swipe them to the right and you end up with another two screens. So I can highly recommend it. And then we come to the final bit, steps recorder. Now, by saying we come to the final bit, this isn't the last bit, well, it is the last bit, but that makes sense in a minute. Let's close all my stuff here. Okay, so steps recorder. What steps recorder does, now this is going to shock you, is it records steps. And I don't mean when you're out jogging. I mean the steps that you're taking in your process of whatever you're doing. Like most of these things, I have no idea where it appears on the menu, so I'm just going to type in steps and then just hope that it doesn't start playing music. But yeah, here we go. Here's the steps recorder. And like I said, this is the last thing we're going to cover. So I'm going to press start record and I'm going to come back to that last. The next thing we're going to do is File Explorer. Now, File Explorer is the thing that we use for exploring files. this thing down here, if I click on that, hey presto, I've got the File Explorer. If you want me to explain all sorts of stuff about file management, then that would be a great time. But if no one has any interest in that because they know how to store their files and where to store them, then I won't explain it. So I'm catering to the appropriate audience here. No one wants File Explorer, do they? No, good, right. Okay, we can do that on a separate session if there's sufficient demand. However, there's things that I've got quick access to, like the Documents folder. Yay, Documents. Here's all the stuff on the PC. If I want to see everything that's in Drive C, I can click on that. If I want to do stuff in my Documents folder, I can do it here. And if I want things to appear in the quick access so I can find them quickly, I can right mouse click on that thing and I can say add to quick access or pin to, because everything has to be pinned. And then in here, if I want to find things in folders, I can double click to go to those folders. If I want to open something, I can open it. That'll probably be details of what happened on Tuesday the 21st, but no one's going to know because I'm not going to open it. And if I want to create a folder, I can right mouse click and say new, and then choose folder. Go on then, all time in the world. Folder, yay. I'm going to call it hello. Now, that's as much as I'm going to do to explain what File Explorer does, because I don't think anyone in the room needs it. However, what I've done there, and if I close this, is I've provided sufficient information for Steps Recorder to record some steps. And it sits ticking away in the background. You've got a pause button if you want to do something and you don't want it to be added to the list. You've got a comment button if you want to put a comment in there. A comment. Cool, that's small. But generally speaking, you do whatever it is you want to do, and then Steps Recorder gives you a story of those things. So if I now hit stop record, you can see what it does. Da, da, da. Recorded steps. It even has a bit of an explanation, but generally what it's doing is listing everything that I did with screenshots. So this is my screen setup. At the top screen, I've got you guys there and the things that I'm going to talk about in case I forget, and the chat windows. And on my screen below it, I've got my laptop screen with the camera hopefully pointing at me. So this is where I've opened up something down the bottom, which is why it's all green. And I scroll down and you can see it's opened up File Explorer, and this green section here is drawing attention to the section that I was clicking away at, etc., etc. And there's an explanation of what's going on. A tree item called music was clicked upon, etc., etc. And it goes on, and it's sort of quite detailed. Somewhere there's going to be a comment right at the bottom where I put, excuse me, where I put a comment. A comment. So it's not one of these things that's obvious how it's incredibly obviously useful. But if you need to proceduralize something and someone says, well, how do we post invoices in this application? Or what's the best way of getting the end of payroll procedure done? Then you can just spark this up, go through it step by step, add a few comments in. Then you've created a manual with almost no effort. Or you can even take bits out of this and put them into a Word document to create your manual. So it's quite a cute feature that a lot of people don't even realise is there. And that is Steps Recorder, which I'm now going to close. That sounded like a question almost there somewhere. No? No. Okay. But if you hit the save button, it saves it as a zip file, weirdly, which contains a kind of web page of a document, an HTML document, I believe it is. But all that stuff is just technical waffle. The important thing is it saves it, so you can then you can call it payroll procedure, or call it year-end procedure, or whatever, or call it how to do a mail merge in Word. And I don't want to save it because it was very dull, so no to that. And there we go. That is my selection of Windows 10's tips for the day. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Good.
There's quite a few little things you can do with the windows where you can throw them like you did to the side, but you can throw them upwards and do all sorts of other things, snap to the corners and stuff like that, can't you?
You certainly can. So, for example, I could take this and put it up there. And it'll only take up the top corner rather than taking up just the side. The trick is, once you've done it the first way, is to experiment, and then you'll find that it does all kinds of wonderful things. You spend
Shaking it, that's one of my favourites.
Yeah, shaking it. I was just about to do that. But yeah, and it gets rid of everything on the screen except for the thing that you're working on. But yeah, they know what I was doing when they wrote this. But good.